Welcome to the Minute of Terror channel. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment where you are watching this video from. The campfire crackled softly, casting flickering shadows across the woods. The kids were huddled under their blankets, eyes glued to their grandpa, who puffed on his pipe with a slow, steady rhythm. A chilly breeze whistled through the trees, and the crickets chirped a restless chorus under the glow of full moon. Grandpa looked at his grandkids and gave a small smile, but his eyes were serious. Y'all ever heard of her? I reckon you have. But do you know the real story? He paused, as if he were about to share a dangerous secret. When I was a boy, my grandma used to tell me about the Lady of the River. She'd whisper it, like saying her name too loud might bring bad luck. I didn't believe her much back then, not until my grandpa told me what happened to him. Grandpa adjusted his old baseball cap and took another puff from his pipe. The fire popped and hissed, the smell of smoke mingling with the damp earth. It was a night like this one, cold, with the full moon hanging in the sky like a lonesome eye. My grandpa was coming back late from fishing, walking the trail along the river. The fish weren't biting, and he was grumbling to himself, not knowing it'd be the last time he'd ever feel safe on that path. The kids scooted closer together, the tension wrapping around them like the night air. The only sound was the river, flowing soft and steady. Then he heard a cry, quiet, sharp. Grandpa lowered his voice, making it deep and eerie, mimicking the ghostly sound. My grandpa stopped dead in his tracks, looked around, and there she was, a woman standing at the river's edge. Long white dress, swaying in the breeze, dark hair falling over her face. She was sobbing, her shoulders shaking like her heart was broken. He paused, watching the kids' wide-eyed faces. Now, my grandpa wasn't one to scare easy. He'd faced down blizzards on the lake and coyotes in the woods. So he stepped closer and called out, "Ma'am, you all right? You lost." Grandpa glanced around, as if the answer might be hiding in the shadows. She didn't answer, just kept crying. That's when my grandpa noticed something off. His voice dropped to a near whisper. Her feet, they weren't touching the ground. A shiver ran through the kids, and one of them pulled the blanket tighter. My grandpa felt a cold creep up his spine, like the air itself turned to ice. But he still tried to help. Took another step forward, and then she stopped crying. Everything went dead quiet. Grandpa puffed his pipe again, letting the suspense hang heavy. Her face, hidden by her hair before, was clear now. Hollow eyes, dark as coal. Skin pale as old wax, and a crooked smile, too strange to be human. One of the kids swallowed hard. He felt a fear like nothing he'd ever known. And then he ran. Ran like the devil himself was chasing him, not daring to look back, barely breathing. He ran until his legs gave out, and he collapsed in the dirt at the edge of town. Silence fell, broken only by the fire's soft crackle. When he could finally speak, he told what he saw. The old-timer in town, the one who knew every story from these parts, just shook his head slow. Grandpa closed his eyes for a moment, like he was back in that memory. "She's still out there," the old man said. "She waits." One of the kids squirmed, uneasy. After that night, my grandpa never fished alone again. And nobody, not a soul in town, dared walk by the river after dark. He looked at his grandkids with a sly, mysterious smile. Because they say on nights with a full moon, if you hear crying coming from a river. Grandpa paused, letting the silence choke the air. "Don't look." The whistle in the woods. If there's one thing I learned that night, it's that you never answer. Back then, I thought it was just another one of Grandpa's tall tales, the kind old folks spin to scare kids into go to bed early. But after that night, after everything that happened, I never doubted again. I was young, stubborn, thought I knew better than the old-timers. That's how it all started. It was a starless night, dark as pitch, the kind you don't see often. Even the moon looked weak, a faint sliver in the sky, like it was too scared to shine. The air felt thick, heavy, charged with something I couldn't quite put a name to. I was walking home from a neighbor's place, and the only way back was a shortcut through a stretch of woods. Grandpa always told me, never cut through there after dark, but I never paid him much mind. My house was just beyond the trail, and I'd walked that path plenty of times. Always got home late, no problem. It was just a dirt trail through tall trees, a shortcut that saved time. Why be afraid of some woods? That's what I thought. But that night, something was different. The silence was heavy, suffocating. No crickets, no owls, not even the rustle of leaves in the wind. Just the sound of my own breathing and the crunch of dry leaves under my boots. Then I heard it, a whistle, soft, long drawn out, coming from somewhere deep in the dark among the trees. At first, I figured it was just the wind slipping through branches, a normal sound, like plenty I'd heard out in the country. So, without thinking much, I whistled back. It was a reflex, a silly little thing I do to entertain myself on the road. But then the whistle came again, louder, closer. My heart started pounding. I stopped dead in my tracks. A chill shot up my spine, spreading through me like wildfire. Suddenly, the woods around me felt denser, darker. I couldn't see much beyond the trail, but I could feel it. I wasn't alone anymore. The silence grew heavier, like the night itself was holding its breath. Then something moved in the woods. A sharp snap, like heavy feet breaking a branch. Fear started clawing at me, spreading like a fever. Grandpa always told me never to answer the whistle, but I didn't listen. Now something was out there with me. Something knew I was there. The darkness seemed to close in. The tree branches cast strange, twisted shadows. The air turned ice cold. My chest tightened. My heart was racing so fast it felt like it might burst. So I ran. I ran without looking back, barely breathing. Every step felt heavier, like the ground was trying to hold me down. The whistle came again. This time, right beside me. My legs nearly gave out, but I kept running. The sound seemed to toy with me, jumping from near to far, like something invisible was darting between the trees. Following me, watching me. My house was close. Just a few more yards and I'd be safe. But then, right in my ear, the whistle sounded again. I screamed and ran without thinking. When I finally reached the house, I slammed the door shut and collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. My chest heaved, my eyes were wide, and my hands shook like crazy. Grandpa appeared in the living room, looking at me like he already knew what had happened. He didn't ask a thing, just shook his head slowly. "You answered, didn't you?" he said, his voice low. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. Then he stepped closer and said something that stayed with me ever since. "What answered you that night, it's still waiting." The boy at the crossroads. There are things that happen in life that stick with you forever. Some nights, I close my eyes and still see that scene. Still hear that plea. Still feel that chill creeping over me. It's been years since that night, but I remember every detail. Some things you just can't forget. Me and my cousin were young and headstrong. We used to laugh at the old folk stories, calling them tall tales meant to scare kids. But after that night, I never doubted my grandma's warnings again. It was a hot, still night, the kind where the air feels thick and heavy. The moon hung high, lighting up the dirt road that led to our house. We were walking back from a dance in town, giggling and chatting, our sneakers caked with dust and our dresses wrinkled from hours of twirling. The road was long, but we'd walked it 100 times. We knew every bend, every pothole, every gnarled tree that marked the way. There was just one spot that always gave me the creeps. The crossroads. Grandma always said crossroads were places of passage, not just for the living. I never quite understood what she meant, and I never wanted to ask. But that night I found out. We were talking quietly, laughing about the boys at the dance, when we reached the crossroads. That's when we saw him. A small, skinny boy, standing right in the middle of the dirt road. He looked about 8 years old, wearing tattered clothes and no shoes. His messy hair fell over part of his face, but his eyes were too dark, like they swallowed the moonlight. He looked at us and spoke in a low, almost whispered voice. "Miss, can you help me?" My cousin stopped. I grabbed her arm. "No," I said. She shot me a look, saying he was just a lost kid. But I knew. Grandma had always warned me about the boy at the crossroads. They say he appears out of nowhere, asking for help. And those who stop to talk to him, they never find their way home. My cousin ignored me. She asked the boy where his parents were, what he was doing out there alone. He just repeated, his voice sharper now, more urgent. "Miss, can you help me?" The air around us grew heavier, colder. Despite the warm night, a deep shiver ran through me, like something unseen was watching us. My cousin took a step forward. That's when I saw it. His feet, or rather, the lack of them. The boy wasn't touching the ground. I yanked my cousin back with all my strength. She gasped, startled, but one look at my face was enough for her to understand. We ran. We ran without looking back, barely breathing. The sound of our footsteps pounded on the dirt road, and the wind, which had been still before, now seemed to chase us. The ground felt farther away with every step. Then I heard it again. "Miss, can you help me?" This time, closer. My cousin screamed and my chest tightened. The fear was so strong it hurt. But I knew we couldn't stop. When we finally reached the house, we shoved the door open and stumbled inside, gasping for air. Grandma saw us and didn't need to ask. She knew. "You saw him," she said, her voice grave. I could only nod, too shaken to speak. She closed her eyes for a moment, like she was remembering something ancient, and then said, "He's still out there, waiting for folks who don't know the story." Since that night, I've never passed that crossroads after dark, because I know he's still waiting.